Hi, everyone. This is Joseph Rosales, and this is my co-host, Ike Devji. Welcome to Business in the New Normal. And this is where we really do our best to try and provide balanced information to our listeners, so you're more prepared, you're more informed, and you're more diligent about those things you need to focus on to become even more successful in this very challenging environment that we find ourselves in. Business in the New Normal has been around for about 17, 18 weeks now. And we've been recording these sessions and getting a lot of great feedback. We've had some amazing guests. I'm going to say, if you have a message that you want to share with our listeners that is going to help people not just survive, but thrive in this in challenging environment that we find ourselves in, send me an email. Our contact information is at the end of the presentation here. And I'll interview you. And if you have some value to share, then I would certainly consider having you on the show. Ike, my friend Ike, our co-host, is a wealth management and asset protection attorney here in Scottsdale, Arizona. He specializes in helping people to not just protect, but also grow their assets. And we affectionately call him a bodyguard for people with money, guarding their wealth. Ike, how you doing this morning, my friend?
Good, thank you, Joseph. It's good to be with you as always.
Good, thanks. So what's going on in your world as we speak? I know you see a lot of crazy things. You have clients all over the country in all kinds of different business spaces, and from doctors and business owners to large companies, small companies, and everybody in between. Lots of crazy things going on, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. The economy is obviously facing a number of different challenges, and the business owners that we both work with in different ways are having to learn and adapt and adjust to those. But business is happening. There are certain channels of business that obviously have benefited from the crisis. There are some that have been bankrupted by the crisis, and there's everything in between. So we are dealing with a number of different things for and with business owners right now. Some business owners are looking to exit their strategy, right? We still have a great number of sort of boomer-aged, if you will, business owners, and some younger than that, who are ready to enjoy the fruits of their labors and cash in on their success, and they are navigating their way through the challenges of selling a business during a pandemic. We have a number of folks that are working on estate planning issues before the end of the year, ahead of potential tax changes they've been warned about. We have folks who are looking at the possibility of a second surge and what that will mean for a fragile business that has just reopened, right? We have folks who weathered the storm, did everything right, got their PPP loans if they were fortunate enough to qualify for that. And now those folks that money's gone. It's been spent. Yeah. And they were just or are just starting to keep that business rolling on its own momentum, on its natural momentum. And now we are looking at the possibility of second surges, and we're seeing numbers rising in parts of the country. So we have folks scrambling and trying to figure out how they're going to be able to survive another surge or storm like that without the aid they got the first time. And that may be anything from downsizing to streamlining to negotiating with their landlords to try and stay in their space, if they're in a commercial space that they lease. So it's a very interesting mixed bag of problems and successes that people are going through right now. But there's certainly a lot of uncertainty, and because of that, people are also taking steps to protect their wealth.
Yeah, it's because I'm in this space like you are, and we spend a lot of time talking with our clients and talking with other professionals about all the different aspects, all the different pieces and components of our economy, of society, of the pandemic, of the medical side. I know you're very close in your life. Your significant other is a teacher. And you see all those educational things firsthand. You hear every night what's going on in the education. This is not second hand. This is not something you're on the news. You're living it, and
Right.
very complicated, very complex. And I tell people all the time, there are no easy solutions here. If there
Absolutely.
was,
We're watching those
yeah,
folks trying to adjust to these things
yeah,
in real time, in some cases from
yeah,
day to day. And that's everybody from restaurant owners with changing rules and regulations to teachers who are told one week that it's going to be a hybrid model, then it's going to be in person. Now it's back to online only. We're
yeah,
seeing those surges in different parts of the country and how it's affecting schools.
yeah,
And then the ripple effect, right? Well,
yeah.
all of a sudden, then we again have a childcare shortage. We have members of the workforce who can't return because their children are home alone. So this is a domino effect that we keep repeating. And
Right, right.
Americans are, fortunately, we're resilient,
Yeah.
but we're having to learn to think on our feet more than perhaps we've had to in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as we progress here in the program, we like to remind people that this is not a message of doom and gloom. Our message to our listeners is to be prepared to more than survive, but to thrive in this environment that we are all in. And like it, don't like it, we're in it together. And we've seen many people pivot highly successfully and move their business to even greater levels than it was before. Personally, I'm busier now than I've been in years. And we've moved to developing digital product and online learning programs and things like that, because that's the model. And this is not something you can hide your head in the sand and say, oh, it's going to go away, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know what this looks like. I think I'm a pretty smart guy, but I can't prognosticate what this looks like a year from now. Nobody can. And one of the things that we're seeing, and this is something I see I know you talk about as well, is that the fatigue that's setting in. Some people are throwing up their hands and saying, I'm done. Take me, take my business. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that's one way to do it. Just take off your mask and go out. And if you get sick and you die, hey, there you go. If you get sick and you get over it, there you go too. I mean, there's all kinds of different aspects to this virus. And I, for one, am staying diligent. I'm staying focused, and we encourage our listeners to do that. So, anything that
Well,
you,
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm sorry, was there
Sorry,
anything you want to
I
share that's
was going to say
been top of
that
mind?
I'm glad to hear that. And, and I'm glad to hear that. And it makes sense since leadership is more important than ever before as we have to face these challenges and we have to adapt and we have to pivot and all of these things that are these phrases that are now becoming a cliche almost.
Yeah,
That's the reality that we're in.
yeah,
And that's a great, perhaps a great segue into our topic today, since leadership is so vital when we're facing these challenges. The timing of the release of your book, The Leader of You, and the other things that you're doing with it to help our business owners out there is probably more fortuitous than you realized when you were working on the project originally.
right, right. Yeah, it's been a labor of love, and I started conceptualizing the book about 18 months ago. And I've known for years and years and years that you can't be an effective leader of others unless you're first an effective leader of yourself. But only when my company was forced, because I mean, we were all about live events. I mean, everything we did, 90% of our revenue was generated from live events prior to COVID. And in March, when we had to pivot to go from live events, which we had, scheduled in Phoenix, Dallas, Chicago, Philadelphia, and LA for 5 months, that was our year, gone just like that. And we had to start pivoting. So we started looking at moving much of the content that we have over to a digital format that people can buy a book, a short read, something 35 to 50 pages long that you can read in an afternoon or a day, and then start to implement those things. And then we built the digital course to go along with that to help people understand how to implement and execute these ideas. And then we also have group coaching to make sure that we're getting the absolute best results from the resources that we're absorbing into our minds, into our knowledge base. And it's really been it's exciting. It's been great. This is my fourth book, and it's the first one it's ever been available as an ebook and a digital course. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for.
And Joseph, what platforms is the book available on? Where can people find it?
They can buy it any of the major brands like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and they can buy it from our website directly. That'll be available next week, I believe. The end of it, for reference, it would be October 30th. The book will be available on our website as a direct download as well. It's available in an ebook, it's available in a printed book, and it's available in a print on demand.
Great. So those of us who are old school and like to hold a book in our hand and mark it up with a highlighter will be able to do that as well.
Be able to do that. Yeah, you can buy them from our website, and we ship them direct. I even autograph them for people when they buy them direct from us. And then again, you can do print on demand, which is kind of cool too. And then that's just a new technology that.
Well, I'm going to capitalize on our friendship and have you autograph about a bunch of them for me that I'm going to purchase and distribute to my own clients.
Well, thank you.
Because I think it's something that will be meaningful and helpful to them. I love the title of the book, The Leader. What prompted you to pick that title, and how did you come to that?
Well, thank you. And you know me well enough. I've been in the leadership development and team building and management development space for over 30 years, and it didn't take long to figure out that people that are in charge may not be good leaders. We see that in politics. We see it in business. We see it in sports. We see it in religion. We see it in societies. We see it in every area where people are gathered together trying to accomplish something together. And leadership is one of those things that if you can't become a better leader of yourself, if you can't understand where your blind spots are, and we talk about that in the book, there's a whole chapter on blind spots, those areas in our lives that we can't see because they're inside of us. I mean, we can't see how we react sometimes because we're too busy reacting. We have blind spots in our cars. We have blind spots in our life. And if you don't know what they are, you can never address them. And that's what most people struggle with is I don't even know that I do that. I don't even know that my tone of voice sounds sarcastic when I say that. I don't even know that I have an issue with the body language that I use, or I don't even know that I'm using the wrong words to build a team. I mean, people don't know, so they can't fix things. So the book is designed to be very reflective with people, to get people to look. And when you look at the first couple of chapters, we talk about how it's you got to reflect, you got to think about these things, you got to ask other people, you got to work with yourself and with others around you to find out how could I be better, where am I strong, where am I weak, because we all know most of us think we're pretty sharp, we're pretty good, but when we really step back, there are areas all of us can be even better in.
Well, I was amazed how many different things you covered in the book when I went through it. And I've written a couple hundred nationally published articles. I've been fortunate enough to be asked to contribute to a few books. And the people that I'm speaking to are typically sort of high stress professionals, or they're business owners, they're founders, they're entrepreneurs, maybe they're C-levels. So these are people who are always under a time pressure. Yeah. Right. So I have had to gotten used to trying to give them information. People who read my work aren't coming to me for prose, right? It's not the Bridges of Madison County that I'm writing. People who want to read something that I've written want some specific information, and they need it delivered in an efficient way. And I was amazed at how many things that you were able to cover in a book that's only about 40 pages. Right. How and why did you boil it down that tight?
Great question. And thank you for asking that. It's interesting because my last book was 150, 70 pages, and that's not a huge book, but it takes several sittings to read it. And what I found that people typically, with the short attention spans that most of us have, they want to do something that they can get results from sooner. And if you have a book that's going to take you a week or 2 weeks to read and you forget, and then a month later you're still reading it, you get a lot of the information gets lost. So by design, all of the books going forward, everything that I'm writing, and we've got probably another 18 books coming out over the next couple of years. And
Wow.
there's a lot, yeah, with digital courses to back them up. It's pretty cool. But the design, by design, all the books are going to be between 35 and 40 pages. You literally can read them in an afternoon or 2 days. And the point there is we want people to gather the information, absorb it, and then start to do something with it. So there's a lot of calls to action in the book. In the digital course, that's where we really walk you through, not just, reinforcing what you've learned in the book, but implementing and executing on those things. So you're actually making changes in the way you lead yourself and lead others.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. As we said, we're both talking to similar demographics. There are people who need information, need it to be actionable, and want to present it in a way that's digestible and efficient, that works with their schedule. You've talked a lot about what helps leaders become more effective. And I noticed in the beginning of the book, you talked about three real specific things: leadership reflection, blind spots, and mindset. So can you walk us through those things and kind of give us a little bit of on each of those?
Sure. Well, reflection is, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, reflection is really taking a moment to stop and look at yourself. Look at yourself not just from your perspective, but from other people around your perspective, to gain some reflection, to see when you look in the mirror, you see a certain thing, but other people see other things based on the angle that you're looking at. And so we really want people to be open and transparent with themselves to start with about, am I as effective in a leader as I can be? Because we know that being in charge doesn't mean you're a leader. Being in charge just means you're in charge.
Right.
And unfortunately, over as many years as I've been doing this, I see a lot of people who are in charge who aren't leading anybody. And when you have a person who's in charge, but they're not leading, how does that influence or affect the performance of the people that are working for them or with them? Really, we see businesses across the country performing at about 60% of their potential. And that's interesting because nobody would accept that. Nobody would take that to the bank and say, hey, yeah, we're going to do 60% of our numbers and you should loan us money. Never going to happen. But yet we allow it to happen because we don't see a way out of it. And people, telling people what to do is not the same as leading people to do it. So
Right.
we talk about reflection being important. We talk about blind spots. Again, we talked about that a minute ago, that you have them in your car, you have them in your life. What are they? Everybody's got different blind spots. I remember I first came across that years and years ago, but I remember it was really pronounced in a coach that my son had in playing high school football. Great guy, unbelievable for the community. He was an amazing guy, but he had blind spots in certain things about the team. He was a running coach. That was what he wanted to do. That was it. Even though he had great athletes all around him that could catch the ball and a quarterback that could throw, he didn't want to do that. He saw it one way. And his coaches, his assistants, parents, everybody was saying, come on, we can do that. We can move this game to another level if we start throwing a little bit. No, this is what we do. And they struggled for years. And then one year he got a coach, an assistant came in who was a guy who liked to throw, and all of a sudden the game changed and they started going to the playoffs. So see, we get stuck in the way we do things and we don't even know why. And we don't listen to other people because we're in charge.
Getting outside our comfort zone, maybe.
Sure. And then we talk about mindset, and I break it down in the book, the difference between perception, perspective, and mindset. And it's important to understand the difference between those things, because really, perception is just what you perceive. It's what you might see. It's what you might hear. Perspective is how you begin to feel about it and you kind of form opinions around it. Mindset is deep. Mindset is how you feel about things, really. You don't change your mindset very easily. Perceptions and perspectives change based on input. Mindset changes more slowly, and it's deep. It's like if I ask you about your faith or your family, something like that, you know how you feel, and you don't sway very easily. So we all have that too. In leadership mindset, what's somebody's leadership mindset look like? What if I say to somebody, what does it mean to you to be a leader? They're going to share from their mindset and from their perspective, how what they think and what they see. And that could either be very productive or it could be very non-productive, depending on what their mindset is. So we got to talk about mindset. We got to talk about perception. We got to talk about perspective, to get people to kind of just start to think about it differently. Because I really believe that all the great things that can happen and all the bad things that can happen, we have a great deal of influence over those things. And it starts with how we see it, starts with how we feel about it, starts with what our mindset is. So it's really important. We start the book off that way, talking about those things.
Well, and those things make sense. I mean, everything you've been through so far, whether it's getting outside your comfort zone or being able to see yourself from the perspective of others, or how you're doing what you're doing, all of these things, have always been important for business success. But the details of these things are becoming even more important in the tough times that many of the business owners that we deal with are going through. You've talked in the book about leadership essentials, right? And I know that's a big topic, but can you
Yeah.
give us a sample of some of the core leadership essentials that you feel are vital and that you talk about in more detail in the book?
Well, yeah, thank you. And that's a great question. There, as you said, there are many, and I think there are 18 or 20 of them in the book that I break down. And a first one is vision. Your vision as a leader is essential to the success of your team and your organization. It is essential. And you either have a vision or you don't have a vision. And if you have a vision and you can clarify that vision and you can quantify that vision and you can begin to build out what those things are that will accomplish the vision, and then bring the people in around those things and show them the piece that they play to accomplish those things, the vision happens. I say it in the book, and I say it in a lot of my autographs that I do. A vision without a plan is just a dream, but also a vision without a plan and the corresponding action will remain a dream. So many people in business don't even have a vision for their business. They just go and do what they do every day and hope that it works. And sometimes it does. But it's also another thing. I see this all the time. People have a vision or had a vision, and then something happened. They hired people that maybe didn't have the vision, didn't share the vision. And so what happens is they slowly lower their vision. They lower their expectation for their business, saying, well, I guess that's as good as it's going to be, because they tire of trying to raise the people's performance up. There's more employees than there is of you. So they sometimes win by sheer numbers. But the point is, if you have a clear vision for your business and you can articulate that and bring other people into that vision and help them understand how they accomplished their component of that vision for the overall vision, amazing things happen. I see it all the time. You see it in sports teams, you see it in business teams, you see it in societies. People need to have a vision. Even in scripture, it says, my people perish for lack of vision. You got to have that vision. Another one is, and again, there are many, consistency. Consistency as a leader is so important. I was interviewing just casually an employee at a local In-N-Out. I'm sitting there in the line, paying for my food, and I said, "Hey, why do you work here? What is it about this place? How do they recruit and train and retain all these amazing young people in this organization that are always busy, always clean? Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Super polite. How do they do that?" And we've talked about what they do for recruiting. But when I asked the kid, why do you like working here so much? He says, consistency. My leaders are consistent. They're always consistent with their approach and with their reprimands and with their training and with their expectations. So it isn't the flavor of the month or the flavor of the week or the flavor of the day. Today I feel this way, so this is how it's going to be. No, it's consistent. And it helps people to rise their level of performance to the next levels because they know what's expected. And it's going to be this way. This is what we're committed to. We are consistent in our approach to this business. And that's such a huge piece for leadership. And one last one I'll give you is trust. Leadership, and again, I talk about this in the book. Leadership is not something that can be assigned. It has to be earned. And when you think about earning leadership, what are some of the things that you need from a leader? You need to be able to trust them. You need to be able to respect them. You don't have to like them, but you need to trust them. You need to be able to respect them. They have to have credibility. They have to have the best interest of the people around them in top of mind. Because if you see a leader and it's all about them, you don't follow them. You might do what they told you to do for a little while, but eventually you'll figure out how not to be in that space anymore. Right? So there's three right there, and there's probably 20.
Well, and those are good reminders of some things that I guess so we say I was going to say common sense, but then of course common sense isn't all that common, right?
That's
So yeah, absolutely. You have to feel appreciated. You have to know what's going on, right? I have heard comments from folks, even from business partners, who have said to me when I'm discussing with them why their partnership is under stress or why there is conflict among and between partners. Those are some of the biggest issues that I hear, because not every partnership, like every marriage, lasts. Some need counseling and some need a divorce, right? We have business divorces just like everything else. And I've seen that trust issues obviously are huge. If you don't trust the people that you're working with or working for, if you don't feel that they have your interests in mind, in addition to their own,
Yeah.
if they don't feel that there's a plan, one of the comments I hear is that everything is a fire drill.
Oh,
Everything is harder than it has to be.
yeah.
When we never have a plan to do things, we don't have systems in place to make these things easier, and that would make what we do easier and more efficient and more profitable and
Right.
reduce the stress level on ourselves and our employees. So
Right.
that's some of the feedback that I get, and it sounds like you're right in there in the trenches, pulling some
Yeah.
of those things right out of the conversations that I'm having with some of the people that I work with. When we talk about these conflicts, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, they call the lawyer when things are very bad, and they say, "Hey, I'm having some trouble, and I want to talk to you about how we can get out of this or what my rights are." And at that point, it's already become adversarial.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been. And we've seen some incredibly profitable, long-running businesses crumble to dust when these essentials weren't addressed.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that an operating agreement that comes out of a lawyer's office can do. These are soft skills that people
Yeah.
need to think about, and
Yeah.
especially now. You've talked about the legacy of a leader in the book. Share a little bit of idea of a legacy of the leader. Is that a succession planning idea? Is it a I mean, it does mean many different things. So walk us through that.
Well, like everything else, people have their own perception of what that might be, and many of them are right. I mean, you leave a legacy of a healthy business to your family. Get it? I mean, you're the leader of the business, and you leave a successful business for your family to move on. Amen. That's awesome. Um, but when you think about, for me, legacy of a leader, and I look at, and I answered this question for myself really, Ike, because I said, what am I leaving behind? And I know there's going to be content, and if my son wants to continue with it, he could. He's in a leadership position now too. Um, but for me, it was people. It's the people that I have touched, the people that I have influenced, the people that have come to me over literally decades and said, I'm better because of you. I enjoy my work. I enjoy the profession that I'm in. I enjoy this team that I'm on, but I'm learning skills on how to manage myself, how to do everything from manage my time better to manage my focus better to communicate more effectively. One of the greatest compliments I've ever had, and I've had very large clients, multi-million dollar companies come and say, "Oh my gosh, you pushed our bottom line up to here. Great. Awesome. I love it. I'm excited." And they pay me and it's all good. But some of the most memorable are things when I remember a wife came to me one time at a conference we were at, and she had been reading some of my articles in a magazine I was publishing and or writing for, and she said, I wanted to thank you because my husband is a better communicator now because of you. And he wasn't before. And now we're talking about things that we didn't used to talk about. And it was all because of some communications programs that we had put him through. How to be a more effective listener. We talk in the book about that great communication starts with listening. Because if you're not, and most people, you see it all the time, most people are listening long enough for the other person to stop talking so they can talk, right?
Right.
They're not really listening, they're hearing. And I say in the book, there's a big difference between hearing and listening.
Right.
Almost everybody can hear. Most people don't listen. And that
Right.
really is a
Most
skill.
people listening is waiting for their turn to talk.
Exactly. And it's not just the words that people use, it's the tone, it's the body language, it's all the things that we can learn as leaders to, if we want to be even more effective. You might be effective already. You might believe you're great. But everybody can be even more. Everybody can be even better, even more effective. I struggle with patience. I am not the most patient person that I know, but I can be even more patient. I know because we talk, again, in the book, we talk about fixed and growth mindset. And if anybody wants a copy of that article, they can text at the end. We'll leave that number. If you text the word 779, I'm sorry, you text the word performance to 77948 on your phone, the word performance to 77948, you'll get an article for free called that I wrote called Fixed and Growth Mindset. And it talks about, do you have a fixed or growth mindset? Fixed mindsets are those people that this is how it is. This is how the business is, or it's always going to be this way, or people are this way, or people are that way. Versus if you have a growth mindset, you really see things differently. You really see that everything can be improved with a certain amount of effort. And I literally believe everything can be optimized. Everything can be better if we're willing to take a step back, look at it, get our egos and attitudes out of the middle of it, and look and say, how could this be better? Because I guarantee you know what's really scary? There are millions of dollars worth of gold nuggets sitting in most businesses. And you know where they are? They're in the minds of the people that work for you. They're in the minds of your customers. They're in the minds of your vendors. And if you can extract those gold nuggets and pile them up, you got a lot of great things happening in your business that you're not doing now. I tell clients all the time, I'm pretty positive that I can influence your revenue by 20% every month, starting over the next 3 months, 20% increase in your business. And then, oh my gosh, how are you going to do that? I don't know. Because I guarantee you this, I guarantee that we're not doing some things right now in your business that you could be doing, or you might be doing it, but not doing them very well. So let's figure those things out and move forward. And that's leadership, because it all starts with leadership. It all starts with the owner of the company saying, yeah, we need help. We need to get better. We know we can be better. We're okay, but we want to be great. And there's another little saying in the book, good is the enemy of great. Right?
Absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
good.
And I think some of these concepts, I believe, what you were talking about in capitalizing upon that hive mind, if you will, right? That comes from old and well-established ideas and books, like some of the things that Napoleon Hill and others have put out in the past, for instance. And it's interesting, if you're not thinking about how to do everything you do better, what you call optimizing. Your competitors are thinking about that right now.
100%. Guaranteed. Somebody's trying to figure out how to do better.
And I'll tell you, in tough times, like a lot of the country is facing right now, that the addressing what others are doing better than you, or what you're not doing as well as others, or delivering, I think is part of the strategy that people need to think about to, as we say, survive and thrive.
Right.
So I know that there's a digital course that you mentioned a couple of times during the course of our conversation that supports and expands on the ideas in the book, which you've presented in that kind of executive summary way in the book, and it allows people to do a deeper dive and get into these issues. How does that work? And walk us through a little bit on the details on that, and when is that coming out, or is that already out?
The ebook is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble now. It's available for print on demand October 30th, and the course comes out October 30th as well. We're doing some finishing videos now. It's a 6-module course, and it's called a drip course, where you get a module each week for 6 weeks. We felt it was important to do that so we don't overwhelm people with information that they just try and jam in 1 week and they're not executing or learning and implementing the way they need to. So we know that from an adult learning standpoint, we need to provide information in a way that is easy for people to digest and implement. Each digital module has video that talks about certain aspects of those chapters, but it also talks about reinforcing ideas that are important, and then also talks about action items, because every week you're going to have actions to take. So we know that over a 6-week period, we can help anybody who, with the desire to become an even more effective leader, we can help them become an even more effective leader of themselves and others in the process. And that's the leader of you. So it's a 6-week program. I believe the price is $397 for the 6 modules. I think we got some special promotions that are going to be going on that we can talk about, with some special mailings that we can do. But, if anybody here that dials in and types the word performance or the word leadership to 77948 or performance to 77948, you can do both. You'll get 2 different articles in there. But in both cases, if you register today, which is the 20th, I'm sorry, the day this comes out will be next week. So when this program comes out, we date mark it, and then anybody that texts in those numbers within that day gets a discount on the course as well. So I think it's a pretty nice discount because we just want people to grasp the idea of the leader of you. You've heard of the leader within you. You've heard of leader outside you. You've heard a lot of different, but I believe it all starts with us. It all starts with you. And if you can become an effective leader of you, you will be a more effective leader of others. It's that simple. It's not rocket science.
That's great. It sounds like the book and the additional support materials that you're providing in the digital course will help a bunch of folks and allow people to work at their own pace and dive into these different issues. Now, you made the mistake of giving me a peek behind the curtain earlier when you said that you have a whole bunch of other products that and ideas that you're going to be sharing, content, really, I guess, is the best word, that you're creating and will be sharing and delivering over the next 18 months. Can you give us a sneak peek at some of the topics
Sure.
of some of the things that I can expect to see from you in the future?
Sure. I think I made a mention to you a few months ago that I've been blessed in my corporate training status, so with different companies or different clients, that I've got about 35 sessions, topics that are 2-hour talks that are going to be built into digital courses, and they run the gamut from some sales and communication and survey. They run a lot of different things. The next one on the gate, though, is pretty cool. It's the art, science, and psychology of persuasion. And the idea is that all of us want to become even more persuasive, whether it's in your family, in your business, in your life. And there are certain things that are science and psychology based that are documented that work to influence people and persuade people, whether it's authority or whether it's consistency or whether it's the reciprocity. These are science and psychology based facts that work to influence people to make a certain type of decision, but what they lack is the art. So this book is going to combine the science and the psychology with the art of actually doing it and help people become even more persuasive. There's another book and course coming out called Business is a Contact Sport. And it's a more business related thing. It kind of follows the title of my first book, which was written in 2005, called Customer Service is a Contact Sport. Now they want me to do a digital course for customer service as a contact sport, but I think we might call it customer service as a non-contact sport. I don't know, because of the new thing that we have going on.
Right.
But that book has already been written. That's been out for almost 15 years, I guess. Seems like, anyway, we went to, yeah. So it's been out for a long time, and so yeah, it's exciting. It's lots of things, and we're trying to turn out right now. We're scheduled to turn out a book and digital course every 2 months, and it's a pretty aggressive schedule. But we're getting a routine down, and we're also asking for input from the people that buy. What else would you like to see? Because one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to have lifetime upgrades to the digital course. So we'll probably upgrade once every year or two, with different content and different things that are coming, new science that's coming in, new ideas, new revelations about how people can be even more effective at whatever the topic is. So we're gonna do a lifetime upgrade program, and then the people in the beginning, I think the first 100 that buy the digital course are getting lifetime upgrades.
Well, that's great. And look, I'm glad that you found a way to be able to continue to share these important ideas with business owners and leaders, given the current challenges we have of being in a big room together, like we did just at the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
or in the context where you and I first met in the tiny confines of a radio station studio,
Right.
where those things have kind of disappeared, at least for the time being. I'm glad you found a way to share almost 30 years of experience you've got in this area,
Yeah.
and get it out there. And I'm glad that we got to take some time out from talking to others about surviving and thriving, and talk a little bit today about what you're doing and your perspective. And I think that puts the show, and what we're trying to do here together into some better context for folks as well.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to book in hand, and to being able to give it to people,
Yeah.
and to seeing the content that comes out with it and what comes next. So I'm glad we got this opportunity today.
I thank you, and it's as people know that follow us, it's a pleasure bringing this information to the masses. The easiest thing is to just put our head down and go, but we know that we have a perspective, and we have ideas and suggestions to share with people that can help them become even more successful at what they're doing, and not just survive, but thrive in this economic and socially challenged environment that we find ourselves in. Like it, don't like it, doesn't matter. It's there. So thank you, Ike, for that. And thank you for walking us through this. You had some great questions for me. I appreciate it. So at this point, I'm going to say, again, thank you to everybody for joining us. The opportunity to share with you is important. We're going to build in some way for you to communicate back with us, and you can always email myself or Ike. Our contact information comes up at the end of each session. I'm a business consultant, mentor, coach. Ike is a top level attorney, and we bring a wealth of information and a wealth of resources to our clients and to those who reach out to us. But I guess I just want to end with saying, don't be alone. This is not the time to be trying to cut your teeth on a learning curve that none of us have been through before. And there are solutions, there are ideas, there are inspirations, there are products, there are programs out there that can help you move from where you are today to where you'd like to be relatively quickly, and long term. A lot of these things you learn them and you have them forever. So it's not like something you subscribe to the idea and at the end of the year you forget it. You keep learning and keep going with it. So there are some great resources out there that we bring to the table. So with that, any closing comments, Ike?
No, not. I think we've got a good start, and a good peek into the leader review, and look forward to continuing our conversations to help people survive and prosper as we move forward.
Okay, awesome. Well, for that, then again, this is Joseph Rosales and our co-host Ike Devji. Thank you always for your wisdom and your insight. These recordings are available on YouTube and on LinkedIn and our social channels. Look them up. Share them with your friends, because one of the things we want to do is we want to let people know that there are resources out there that aren't political, that aren't left or right. They're pretty much in the middle, and they're based on science and fact, not fear and fiction. So let your friends know about it. And if you have any comments or questions for us about the show or about anything we talk about, reach out to us, one of us on our email. And for that, I will say thank you so much to everybody for joining us again. And this is Joseph Rosales and Ike Devji. See you next week. Bye-bye.